Hello. Welcome to Showbox. Today, I'm gonna explain a 2012 British-American science fiction movie called Prometheus. Spoilers ahead. Watch out. It's the fifth entry in the Aliens franchise, a prequel to 1979 science fiction horror film. Make sure to watch until the end because of its twisted ending. When a huge alien UFO leaves prehistoric Earth, an alien stands beside a waterfall and drinks the dark liquid, causing his body to disintegrate. As the alien's remains cascade into the waterfall, its DNA triggers a biogenetic reaction. Two archaeologists, Elizabeth Shaw and Charlie Holloway, discover an ancient star map while doing an observation in a cave in 2089, and think of it as an invitation from the humanity's creators, or engineers as they call them. As the crew travels on a large spaceship, they sleep in status while an android robot named David monitors their progress. After 2 years, the ship stopped and announced that they had already reached the destination threshold. The first crew, aka mission director, Meredith Vickers, wakes up and is approached by David, ordering him to wake the entire crew. The crew was then presented with a visual audio recording, showing Sir Peter Weyland, CEO of Weyland Corporation, who had raised funds to build cutting-edge research ships, entitled Prometheus, to find engineers. Next, the boss introduces the archaeologists, who explain that digs from around the world show men worshipping giant creatures pointing into a star. Then, they found LV-223, the planet they just arrived at, which is capable of supporting life. As the survey team nears a large artificial structure in a valley, the team suits up and heads inside to explore. Using the advanced detector drones of Mr. Fifield, they are able to photograph the entire grid of the structure. Further along, they run into a room with a hole inside that is generating an atmosphere as something is creating the air. Meanwhile, David discovers a green slime that makes some electric sounds and filled with particles. Meanwhile, he presses buttons on the wall, creating a hologram which shows several engineers running from something. The survey team then chases the hologram and finds one engineer near a door that has been knocked off its hinges. The carbon reader indicates that the body has been buried there for over 2,000 years. David tries to open the door and they discover a room containing paintings on the walls and full of well-arranged cylindrical vases black liquid. Suddenly, the survey team starts falling backwards when the control unit detects incoming silica storms. Along with him was dead engineer's head and David packs one of the large vases. As the team removes the helmet from the deceased engineer and shocks his brain. Before it explodes, it briefly comes back to life and breaks up. A DNA sample is then taken. Analysis reveals that the engineer's DNA is identical to humans. The stolen cylinder is investigated by David and discovers the black liquid within. David intentionally ingests the liquid in order to determine if it is poisonous. He then gives Holloway a dose of the substance. Holloway drinks champagne unaware of what is happening. He engages in sexual intercourse with Shaw. Fifield and Milburn, on the other hand, stay behind and continue exploring the cave. After finding the engineer corpses, they are suddenly told by the control unit that a surveillance drone detected a life form from the west, but it disappears, stating that it was just a glitch. Knowing this, they decide to walk towards previous site in the east. Something slithering in the river of black liquid, and a snake-like creature appears. The aggressive snake-like creature attacks Milburn. And Fifield tries his best to help him, but it breaks his arms and kills him eventually. It also sprays corrosive poisonous-like fluid towards Milburn's helmet, destroying it and burning his entire face. The crew returns to the structures next day while David stops suddenly and turns to other direction. Then he finds a room containing a surviving engineer kept in a stasis. He caused a chair to swivel out and commencing the engineer's hologram by pressing the button. As the engineer plays the flute, a huge space map appears, showing Earth as its next destination. Holloway's condition gets worse as the side effect of consuming the black liquid, and the crew rushes back to the Prometheus. They find Milburn's corpse on the other side. As they board the ship, Vickers is already waiting for them, blocking Holloway from entering the ship. Equipped with flamethrowers, Vickers burns Holloway to death. Shaw is being examined by David. She is 12 weeks pregnant. That's weird since they only had the intercourse 10 hours back. Despite feeling something is wrong with her, Shaw insists on having it removed immediately. David suggests that they cryostatize her until they reach Earth. Shaw fights back and manages to run away while a med pod does the surgery for her. An octopus-like creature is pulled from her belly. Shaw escapes the pod and captures the creature in the pod behind. When the ship's control unit detects Fifield's monitor, it finds that he is actually outside. With that monster face, Fifield becomes even stronger and attacks the ship's crew. They somehow manage to take him out by burning with the help of flamethrowers. While getting away, Shaw finds out Wayland is still alive, and he's been on the ship only. Meeting the makers or engineers could allow him to cheat death in some way, he explains. They must leave, Shaw says, because the engineers aren't what they are thinking. They kill people. Since they have been so close to meeting them, and this is the last chance for them to do so, he refuses. Dressing up, Shaw meets Yannick, the captain of the Prometheus. According to his theory, this planet is not their home and the structure was built by an engineer base, which lost control of its biological weapon, that black liquid. Vickers tells the CEO he will die if he enters the structure. Additionally, it reveals that the old man is her father. Then they return to the structure where David visited before next to thousands of cylinders. Due to Shaw's camera's live feed, the control room discovers that it is actually a spaceship. To create, sometimes it is necessary to destroy. David makes it clear that the engineers were coming to destroy humanity. After he awakens, David explains to him what Wayland wants. As a result, the engineer decapitates David, killing Wayland and his team. Even though Shaw escapes, the engineer touches an energy ball, which activates Shaw's spaceship and sends a chair out as a weapon. The ship begins to take off and he sets the course back to Earth to continue his mission to destroy humanity. As for Yannick, Shaw urges him to prevent the alien spaceship from flying any further. Having been convinced by Shaw, the captain crashes the ship with the Prometheus, killing himself and the rest of the crew. In an escape pod, Vickers is the only one to escape the ship. Vickers is killed when the ship collides in a perfectly straight line, preventing her from outrunning it. Quite funny. After barely surviving, Shaw makes it to the wrecked Prometheus. She discovers that the alien offspring she had previously removed has grown enormously. Fortunately, it is still trapped in the medical bay. David, who is still alive, reveals to her that the engineer survived the crash and is on his way to her. As Shaw is attacked, the engineer forces open the ship's airlock and releases the alien offspring, who fight with each other. As the engineer struggles, this gigantic creature thrusts an ovipositor down his throat and kills him. According to David, there is still another ship he can fly, and he asks Shaw for assistance. In despair, Shaw recovers David's head and body from the wrecked engineer ship. Rather than returning to Earth, they are heading for the engineer's world to find out why they created humanity and then destroy it. As a biological weapon, the black liquid was created by the engineers to wipe out the entire planet, especially Earth. A lethal mutagenic pathogen, it is made up of billions of small microorganisms. They were kept in the cylindrical vase because they are unstable at ambient temperatures, as we saw in the previous scene. When the crew disrupted the atmosphere in the room, the black liquid began to react. In addition, we have seen in the movie that the creatures infect the hosts, causing them to mutate and become stronger and more aggressive. Hope you enjoyed this movie. Please like this video and subscribe our channel. It may be insignificant to you but it really support us. Have a good day.